Hey everybody, welcome to the Dungeoncast. I'm Will.
I'm Brian.
This is the podcast where we talk about everything Dungeons and Dragons, from planar pirates to pouches of poison. And today we're talking about Pixies and Sprites. The Dungeoncast. All right, Brian.
Here at the Dungeoncast, we're proud. We're proud to be presenting to you and proud to have you listening. What are we talking about today, Will?
Today we're talking about Pixies and Sprites, Brian. And this is kind of our first foray back into the Fae in a while. I guess satyrs, which wasn't too long ago, but like I feel like we talked about satyrs more in like a prime material plane aspect.
Yeah, they seemed more Fae adjacent than
they're
Fae
adjacent. Yeah, I mean they do live in the Fae, but yeah, we definitely talked about them in a Fae adjacent way. But
yeah.
Pixies and Sprites are pretty. It doesn't get more Fae than a fairy. I mean, yeah. So
okay,
let's get into it.
I would argue like a dryad is like super duper Fae too.
Yeah, but I mean, literally the word Fae is in the name of fairy, so it's hard to get more Fae than
they're fairy stories.
The fairy. What?
They're fairy stories.
Indeed, they are.
Okay, so that I don't actually know much about these guys. I used one in a campaign one time.
And I would say you actually used one fairly accurately.
Okay.
There's a difference between Pixies and Sprites, and we're going to get into it.
Okay, yeah,
so let's get into it. In Dungeons and Dragons, Pixies and Sprites are diminutive fairy folk based pretty directly on their in real life mythological counterparts. They are very similar, but strikingly different creatures from each other. Though this varies throughout the editions, in 5e, Pixies and Sprites are considered to be cousin species.
Okay.
Calling either creature a fairy, I think, would be a fair thing to do. But technically speaking, I think the term fairy is actually more synonymous with the general term of like the fair folk or the fae, in general.
Yeah.
Basically, a fairy extends to the many different beings of the Feywild to a certain extent.
Yeah, fairy would be like saying, I guess, like human in a way, like comparatively to us is what it sounds like. It sounds like it's like one of the fae, fairy.
Right.
Like that fairy over there. Like it could be,
exactly,
whatever creature.
Right.
Okay.
So let's do, it's like our Feywild episode. What was that? Episode 14 or something like that? That was a long time ago.
It was so long ago.
So let's do a quick Feywild overview.
Yeah.
The Feywild, also known as the Plane of Fairy, is one of the two planes of existence that exists as a parallel or echo to the prime material plane. Basically, this means that they are inherently connected and can't exist without each other. As an echo of the prime, the Feywild is similar geographically to the prime world, but not identical. The Feywild is a more extreme, vibrant, and magical reflection of the mundane world. So it's a place of everlasting twilight, of beautiful verdant landscapes, glittering fairy lights, and it's a place of song, and it's a place of wonder, where a volcano exists in the prime material plane. A mountain topped with brilliant red crystals as tall as skyscraper sits in the Fae. Nice. Where a muddy river flows in the prime, a roaring, majestic rapids of crystal clean water rushes in the Feywild.
Dope. Okay.
Arcane magic here runs more freely and powerfully. It practically permeates the air that you breathe. All creatures of the Fae are gifted magically, probably just because there's just so much magic in the plane itself.
They're just bathing in it. It's like the radiation out there.
Right. It's also, as beautiful as it is, it's also a terribly dangerous place. Time and distance do not function logically here. And it's very easy to become lost in the Fae.
So when you say it's dangerous, you mean for like a mortal?
It's dangerous in general.
For the Fae also?
Obviously, like with the Fae, it's way less dangerous for a couple reasons. Number one, all Fae have certain amounts of magical affinity. So that's, they're a power level above your regular farm boy John out there, in the real world.
True.
But also because they are Fae and they are Fae-minded, they understand the nonsensical intricacies of how to navigate the world of the Fae, where a human might, or any humanoid from the mundane world might haplessly do something to put their life in danger without realizing it.
Even the terrain out there, as I understand it, can be like changing in some places.
Yeah,
so maybe someone more familiar with the area and with those magical powers might be able to navigate something like that easily, while a mortal creature would get lost.
Spoilers for Name of the Wind, just to give an example of like a human haplessly doing something.
Oh,
to get
dude,
themselves
it's
in
my
danger.
only. It is almost my singular reference for Fae stuff now. Besides our episodes,
It's got a lot of great stuff in there for
it's
sure.
so much good stuff.
But there's a
in
scene.
Wise Man's Fear, really.
Yeah, there's a scene in the. I'll try and be unspoilery as possible. There's a scene in the Fae where a human wanders haplessly into this dark region of the Fae, and he causes a specific type of noise that like stirs some like dark entity that you don't get to see, and he's only rescued by a much older ancient Fae being that knows the secrets of hiding from these things. So it's stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where was I? Oh yeah, so losing yourself in the Fae, it's very easy to do, and those lucky enough to find their way back to the Prime may discover that a decade has passed in their absence, even though they only experienced a few days' time. So it's wonky stuff like that. It's like, oh, I spent a few days in the Fae, and then you come back, oh God, it's been 10 years.
Or it could be 10 minutes, right? Like time can slip in either direction.
It could be like Chronicles of Narnia, where they go in and they spend 10 years in Narnia, and they come back and it's been 10 seconds.
Yeah, or like
Right.
even they go into Narnia and it's been like 1,000 years.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're like, oh no.
Right.
Oh, thank God that Aslan is still alive.
Right,
Sorry, spoilers.
So, beings that dwell in the Feywild are considered to be Fey creatures, like Pixies and Sprites, which we're going to get to eventually, I swear. Fey creatures are as wide and varied, whimsical, magical, wild, dangerous, and strange as the very land they dwell in. They are alien-minded creatures in an alien world. Their concepts of morality and logic tend to be incongruous and at times nonsensical.
Super bonkers.
Yeah, furthermore, they tend to be quite powerful compared to your average mortal. Again, we talked about the inherent magic powers. This combination of sheer unfamiliarity, plus the fact that they're more powerful than your general mortal, can spell disaster for a hapless human who comes into contact with the fair folk.
Right.
And the last thing I'm going to say about the Fae is a quote from Patrick Rothfuss, again, writer of Name of the Wind. And I love this quote. I think it's a really apt way to describe the difference between those of the Fae and those of the Prime. I have heard people say that men in the Fae are as different as dogs and wolves. While this is an easy analogy, it is far from true. Wolves and dogs are only separated by a minor shade of blood. Both howl at night. If beaten, both will bite. No, our people and theirs are as different as water and alcohol. In equal glasses, they look the same. Both liquid, both clear, both wet after a fashion, but one will burn and one will not. This has nothing to do with temperament or timing. These two things are profoundly, fundamentally not the same. The same is true with humans and the Fae. We forget it at our peril. So that being said, we're actually going to talk about some of the least dangerous and most benign Fae there are. So
Right.
let's get into it.
Yeah.
So even though 5e Pixies and Sprites are different creatures, originally the word sprite was an umbrella term for many fairy-like creatures, including sea sprites, grigs, atomies, nixies, and pixies. So all pixies were sprites, but not all sprites were pixies.
God, it's like the arcane focus.
It's like the arcane focus. Yeah, it is.
And the arcane, what's the other one? Arcane focus and arcane...
Spellcasting focus.
Spellcasting focus and arcane focus.
All
That's
arcane
what it is.
focuses are spellcasting focuses, but not all spellcasting focuses are arcane.
I could chant that to myself to sleep every night,
Indeed,
and I still would be confused by it.
There you go. So this idea of kind of like the categorization between Pixies and Sprites was true between 2nd edition and all the way up to 4e. But 5e ends up doing something interesting by splitting the concept of the Pixie in twain, making the shyer, more whimsical side of them into Pixies and the more purposeful and fierce side of them into Sprites. But this also kind of matches how they originally were in 1st edition, so it's not like it's really a 5e original idea. More like a really, really far a callback, if you will. So let's go. Let's talk about Pixies.
Okay, I'm ready, man.
I know, it's been a while. It's been 9 minutes and I haven't told you what a Pixie is.
Oh, before we start though, Will,
Yes, yeah.
let's talk about pixies.
Okay, let's do it. So Pixies are tiny fey humanoids that stand anywhere from 6 inches to 2 feet tall, depending on the edition you're playing, or the lore you've chosen to use. They resemble diminutive elves with vibrant gossamer wings similar in shape to a butterfly or dragonfly. Though they have pointed ears like an elf, their faces are a bit more rounded and childlike compared to elves. They array themselves in elegant gowns and tunics made of spider silk, acorns, leaves, and pelts of tiny woodland critters. Their wings shine luminous and bright as a full moon, and as they fly, they trail a sparkling shower of glowing pixie dust.
So this is Tinkerbell.
This is Tinkerbell.
Okay.
Tinkerbell is definitely a pixie.
It's your textbook stuff.
But with the attitude of a sprite, which we'll get into later.
Oh, okay, nice.
They dwell in deep forests and hidden grottos, far from any kind of civilization. They're very shy, but they're also very mischievous and playful. And they're also wise cultivators of nature. So they're pretty multifaceted, really.
Okay.
They coax flowers to grow and sparkle with summer dew. They rouse buds in the springtime. They etch patterns of frost in winter ponds. And they color the leaves with blazing hues in the autumn. It's said that they invented honey and sold that knowledge to the bees.
What?
It's said that they taught birds to fly and sing. Some say that the pixies perform these deeds dutifully, but the truth is that pixies do these things so reliably because they love to do these things. A naturally fun-loving, mischievous, and excitable species, pixies always do as they wish. There's no game they will not play, and there's no revelry they will decline.
Oh no!
So they're very joyous. Well, I mean, they're just very joyous, very happy. They're just out there having fun.
They're
and
just
having a good
super.
time.
They're yes men.
They're super yes men. Yes, they frolic in sunlight. They sing in the rain, and they dance beneath moon and stars.
Okay.
They are a rather restless bunch with an insatiable curiosity, which leads them to be some of the most relentless tricksters and pranksters in all the realms.
Okay.
But before we get into that, there is a bit of an origin story that 4E presents that I really, really love. And this is a great example of sometimes I fucking love it when 4E really defines things because I'm like, oh, this is a cool story.
Well, yeah, they're pretty hit and miss with that. They've either encapsulated us all or they've offended the masses.
It's true. It's true. So here we go. Here's your origin of pixies. So, once upon a time, in the green gold of the dawning world, the Summer Queen gave birth to a beautiful child. No one knew which of the Archfey was the child's father, and the Summer Queen refused to say. Powerful Archfey of the Court of Stars gathered around her so that each in turn might bestow a gift on the new Fey royalty, for each believed the child was his own. The first gift came from the child's mother, the gift of whimsy, so that like the warm winds of summer, she might roam wherever she pleased. But whimsy needs a course and a direction, lest it give way to the destruction of storms, said the Sea Lord, who believed the child was his own. As young rivers play upon the land before maturing into the great wide sea, so shall the child play. And he bestowed the gift of play on the Fey child. Then Orin, the Green Lord, who also believed the child was his own, said, like the frivolous waters, play can overreach its bounds and wreck the labor of others. So I give this child the gift of care. As young seeds are nurtured in the earth that bounds the rivers and the sea, so shall the child care for all things green and alive. The Prince of Frost, who knew the child to be his sister, only laughed at the other Archfey. By her silence does the Summer Queen have us doing her bidding for the sake of a child whose providence we will never know, he said. And so laughter is my gift to the child. Laughter is the north wind's breath that elevates the spirit in the face of those who would channel, bind, or control it. So the child was blessed with the four gifts of the Court of Stars had bestowed upon her: whimsy, play, care, and laughter. But after the others had departed, the child's true father secretly appeared beside her gossamer cradle. And then Coralon, Lord of Arcane Magic, blessed his daughter with the gift of wonder that is the purest form of magic, so that she and all her descendants should ever retain their childlike spirits.
Oh, man. And this has been... Is that it?
That's it.
And this has been... Fey Gospel in Will's Story Corner.
I just love how Coraline comes out. It was me the whole time. I like fucking Coraline. That's great.
I watched them bestow all those gifts, and you're not even theirs, you're mine. But here you go, babe.
All right, let's take a short rest.
Hey everybody, welcome to the part of the episode we're not talking about that last thing we were talking about. We're talking about this thing that we've talked about before that we saved for this part of the episode to talk about. Will, what is it, buddy?
I love you.
I love you too. We both love you. Let's talk about some Patreon people.
Indeed.
Thank you, Patreon people.
Sorry, I wasn't expecting that.
Thank you, Justin Johnson.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you, Jack Brenmer.
Thanks, Jack. Welcome back, Jack.
Welcome. Well, he's been welcome.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to this level of the tower, Jack Bremner.
Indeed.
You've pledged your loyalty even further. And thank you, Joshua, our mate.
Thank you, Joshua.
Meta.
That's 3 J's. We got Justin, Jack, and Josh.
Just pledge. That's the moral of today's story is come to our Patreon and check out all that sweet bonus content. Check out these sweet exclusive mugs. Check out Flashbang and the Surgeon. Check out all the early episodes that you get. And hello, Patreon people. You're getting this one an additional week early and the next one. Spoilers for the next one.
Indeed.
And it's because it's my birthday. And I'm going on vacation. So thanks, Will, for being here to help record early.
No problem.
Let's see.
We got a contest to talk about.
We have a contest
so
to
let's
talk about.
it.
Everybody start do their reps and make sure you track it on your fitness tracker. And I need the person with the most thick arms gets the victory.
The thickest arms.
You thick?
Okay, no.
Do you even lift, bro? It's that dragon pumping the 2d20s on a barbell. Yeah,
I've seen that. Yeah,
that's y'all
so
right now.
So the contest is we're giving away a copy of Descent into Avernus, the newest D&D book coming out in September. And it actually looks really good. I'm really excited to get it myself. And the way you enter the contest to win this book is by sharing an episode of Super Quest Saga, which is our D&D 5e live play. I've seen a lot of people actually share the Dungeoncast, and I've had to correct them. No, share Super Quest Saga.
That's
please.
happening on Instagram too. Get it together, y'all. Get it together. I'm counting all these entries, but like, we'll share Super Quest Saga because it's super dope.
Right. And if you share it on Twitter, just hashtag SuperQuest and I'll catch it. And if you're sharing it somewhere else, you can send a screenshot to either the dungeoncast@gmail.com or to our Twitter, Instagram to let one of us know, and we'll go ahead and enter you into the contest. And on September 1st, we're going to announce our winner. So yeah, share our live play. We're trying to grow the audience for our live play D&D game, and you have a chance to win.
Find that Instagram post. It's got the Descent to Avernus stuff on Instagram, and you can comment, recommend Super Quest Saga, and tag 2 people. Recommend Super Quest Saga. You can recommend the Dungeoncast too, honestly, but like recommend Super Quest Saga. That being so, well, yes.
Okay.
We've returned.
Indeed we have.
We've returned.
Indeed we have. So we're back and we're talking about Pixies and Sprites. We're still
feel the power of the podcast.
We're still
I have one thing to say before we get going. I'm sorry for interrupting you,
okay.
but I didn't get to say it because I wanted the episode to flow. I just picture like one sprite just like really jazzed to be where they're at, and a bunch of little bees in suits walking up with some briefcases. Like they have the money. They undo the briefcase and they're like,
secret.
Now tell us your secrets. And she's like, I picture Pixies as girls most of the time, probably because Tinkerbell, but like, and she's like, just has like a little scroll she rolls out. She's like, here you go.
The secret of honey.
Yeah, secret of honey.
That's pretty hilarious. I like that.
They're like hidden under like a mushroom or whatever.
So,
okay.
despite, yeah, no problem. So despite all their playfulness and whimsy, which we'll get into, Pixies are also quite shy. So there's a little bit of a mixture there. Mm-hmm. And so when and if outsiders tread within a Pixie Sullivan home, Pixies are so naturally shy as to hide themselves behind natural cover and use their ability to turn invisible. But their curiosity is so strong that they can't help themselves but to study their visitor from afar and play harmless tricks upon them to gauge their temperaments and their reactions. They might tie a person's bootstrings together or create illusions of strange creatures or treasures to lure their victims off their path. Hostile or angry reactions will cause the Pixies to either flee or to continue their pranking, while good-natured reactions might embolden a Pixie to reveal themselves and guide a traveler to safety or even invite them to a feast.
Interesting.
So they're pretty hot and cold there.
Yeah.
So though Pixies are known for their many magical abilities of illusion and enchantment, they are probably most known for the magic of the pixie dust that falls in their wake. A mere sprinkle of dust is said to grant the power of flight. Possibly it can be used to confuse a creature hopelessly or to even send a foe into a magical slumber. Because of this, wizards and monsters of a less than scrupulous manner seek out Pixies to capture and steal their dust.
I'm here to steal your dust. Now fly.
Dude, there's this amazing scene in Your Highness where the evil wizard Lazar is like, he's talking. I don't even know who he's talking to, but he like grabs a pixie out of the air and then he like smashes in his hand and snorts.
It does a line. I think you showed me that
it's
scene.
So funny. I've
done all but watch this movie, basically, thanks to you.
Me and Kiki were talking about it at TDC Plays. I fucking love that movie. Okay.
Dude, I can imagine like satyr boys like going after the like they're shaking bushes and stuff, and one of them's got like a sack, and they're just like running behind it.
Give me your dust.
All right, boys, I got what we need. Let's go for a fly.
So
Can you fly with the pixie dust? What does the pixie dust do?
Pixie dust, yeah, it gives you the power of flight.
Is that what you said earlier?
Yeah, I did say that earlier. It's the first thing I said.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. So any questions about pixies before we move on to the generalities of sprites?
So that's probably like a black market item, is like a pixie in a jar, huh? Like that you can reuse
one
the
of
dust.
one of the many black market items. Also unicorn horns and unicorn blood.
You're in Diagon Alley and you like fucking find a salt shaker with a fucking pixie in it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Very much, yeah.
This is the whole thing.
That's horrifying.
Yes, it is, but it's like very dark and evil, but that's the point.
Yes, indeed it is. So let's talk about sprites and what makes them different.
Okay.
So sprites are also diminutive humanoid fae that stand around 6 inches to 2 feet tall, depending on the edition and the lore you're using. They too look like tiny elves with gossamer insect wings on their backs. But unlike pixies, sprites have the sharp and long facial features reminiscent to elves and other fae, rather than the childlike ones that pixies have.
Okay, and they taste like lemon lime.
Sure. Yeah. God, it's stupid. Sprites seem to lack the inherent magical abilities of their pixie cousins. Like the pixie dust and the glowing wings.
Oh,
and
yeah,
spellcasting and all that. Save for the ability to become invisible and another ability we're going to talk about in a little bit. So rather than having the whimsical, fun-loving, and mischievous behavior of their cousins, sprites are known to be on the serious, fierce, and zealous side of things. Unusual for fey creatures, needless to say.
Yeah.
They are aggressive and hardy warriors, dedicated to protecting forests from interlopers and fighting beings of ill intent. Like little forest paladins, if you will.
There is a movie that we are not quoting right now of like little creatures with bows and arrows and stuff, like going to war and stuff. Never mind.
The borrowers?
I don't even know what it is. I feel like I see the commercials for it sometimes, or I used to. This is a bad thread.
I have no idea. I have no idea what you're talking about.
This is a bad thread of conversation. Let's move on.
Moving back. Okay. Sounds good. So like I said, like little forest paladins, if you will.
I like that description. It's apt. Yeah.
Yeah. They tend to be overly sullen and a bit harsh in general. And other good fae, don't particularly care for sprites. They consider them to be both boring and sour little creatures.
Oh, okay.
Still, sprites are one of the very few fey creatures that are actually truly good and are often allying themselves with other good beings, fey or otherwise.
They're just like little jerks about it?
They're little jerks about it. They're just a little bit high-strung, but God, do they hate evil.
They hate evil.
They do. They really hate evil.
They hate like forest, like evil that affects the forest.
No, they hate evil.
Oh,
they
nice.
hate evil. They're little fucking paladins.
Oh, hell yeah. You need like little, can you imagine like a fantasy character that you made into like a cyborg? You know how like cyborgs like have like missile packs on their back that are like big rectangles.
Yeah.
And you just like pull the thread and a bunch of fucking sprites come out of it.
Yeah.
And you,
Have at thee.
like a big half orc paladin with a
That'd be pretty cool.
Move.
I like that scene. That's a really cool
Sprite
scenario.
pack. That's what we'll call it. It's a
Indeed.
new magic item. You heard it here on the Dungeoncast.
Wait till it shows up on Super West Saga.
Oh, damn. I forgot that's a thing.
So sprites dwell in tiny villages built in the boughs of trees or tree ants even, often decorated with glowing moss, wildflowers, and toadstools. Here they patrol their territories armed with little bows. They allow no trespassers whatsoever. Those spotted will be attempted to be lured away by sprites rustling bushes or causing noises.
Okay.
But anyone foolish enough not to heed these warnings will be stung by poison arrows and put to sleep.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Sprites have an uncanny magical ability to sense the true nature of a creature by listening to its heart. They can tell if a creature is good or evil, if their hearts beat rapidly with love or flags with sorrow, or if it is darkened by hate or greed. This truth cannot be masked by any means whatsoever because the heart cannot lie.
Oh, damn. That's some Dungeons and Dragons lore that we don't tell you about till now on the show.
Yeah,
your heart cannot lie.
Your heart can't lie.
When
Doesn't matter who you are.
When you nat 20 your insight roll, you're seeing into someone's heart.
It's so true. So if a sprite judges a creature to be of good heart, they may parlay with the creature and talk out the issue.
Sure.
Please leave my fucking forest.
Right.
If the sprite judges an intruder to be evil, they'll choose either to kill it or drive them out or flee if they're outmatched.
Oh, dang. Sprite interrogation panel, man.
Indeed.
That's just the fucking cops got a team of sprites.
Indeed.
You're gonna sit in front of the sprites, then we'll see who you really are. You robbed that bank, you tell me now, we're gonna sit you in front of the sprites. If they don't like you, they're gonna put you to sleep.
Yeah, pretty much. There we go. So back on the sleep deal, sprites are also known for their acumen for brewing powerful potions, poultices, and poisons. They know the secrets of the forest and are adept at finding rare magical plants, mosses, and fungi. So pixie poison is, or pixie, sorry, sprite poisons are often sought after, or even more so probably sprite poultices and healing potions.
Right, okay.
Because they're like extra potent.
That's interesting.
This also makes sense if the sprites are dwelling in a treant. Because I don't know if you remember from the treant episode, but the treants are really good at like brewing like magical treant brew that like extends your life. So if the pixies can get their hands on that,
they like squeeze their branch armpits and like sap comes out.
Get that sap, yeah, sure. Okay.
So are they living inside of living treants?
I mean, in the boughs.
Oh, they're like up in the. They're not like burrowing.
Yeah,
because I thought you said something about burrowing inside. And I was like, that sounds so uncomfortable for the tree.
That sounds horrifying.
That sounds like
they're inside me.
Oh, yeah, no, it hurts. Oh God.
Yeah, no, thank you. All right. So, any questions about sprites before we talk about their stat blocks?
No. I want to know the. I really want to know the save on the arrow really badly. So just let's get into the stat.
Okay, we'll talk about sprites first then.
Okay.
All right. So. Both these creatures are actually really low on the CR rating.
They're like quarter, right? Or
they're like
half?
a quarter. They're both a quarter, and it makes sense because they're so small and fragile.
Well, also like they're really great for swarms. I mean,
they are really great.
That's
for
a really difficult initiative to track, but it's so much fun.
But I don't think with the Pixie especially, it's really an apt challenge rating because you can do some shit with Pixies. They got those tricky little abilities. Yeah, which is we have a really good example of that in Ranger Danger, which is one of our Patreon episodes.
Yes, we do.
But let's talk about the sprite first. So the sprite, tiny, fey, neutral good, armor class 15 if it's dressed in leather armor, which is impressive for such a tiny little guy.
They don't need a lot of leather to make a bunch of armors.
I also think I forget that AC also takes into account dodging. And so there are
like your dexterousness in the armor. You can fly around.
Exactly. Man, they have a strength of 3. That's a -4 to that stat.
Yeah. I mean, it's a scale thing.
Yeah, I mean, they're tiny.
What's the Tarrasque? Like a 24?
No, Tarrasque is like a 32 or something stupid.
I thought it was like a 26.
What?
It's not like a 26?
No, it's like 30.
Oh.
30 or higher.
Oh, wow, okay.
My phone did something weird, but I think everything's okay. It's still recording.
Thanks, phone.
Yeah, indeed. So they have a longsword action. I mean, is it really a longsword?
No. Well, to them, it's a scale thing
it's
again.
It's more like a needle.
It's more like a they stole it fucking out of your thread in your adventurer's pack.
It's only a +2 to hit and 1 slashing damage. It's not even a die. It's not even a D4, my friend.
I mean, a +2 to hit on a -4 strength is that's pretty good for a little thing.
It says reach is 5 feet. That's just impressive.
That's ridiculous. I mean, mechanically speaking, you can't have it be less than that. So
true. This is true. Their short bow attack is much more impressive. +6 to hit. It only does 1 piercing damage, and the target must make a DC 10 Constitution saving throw, or become poisoned for 1 minute. If its saving throw result is 5 or lower, the poisoned target falls unconscious for the same duration, or until it takes damage, or another creature takes an action to shake it awake.
Nice.
And then it gets Heart Sight, which we basically talked about, but I'll read it verbatim. Sprite touches the creature and magically knows the creature's current emotional state. If the target is this like Mantis in Guardians of the Galaxy? Where she touches people. It's horrible.
It's weirdo.
If the target fails a DC 10 Charisma saving throw, the sprite also knows the creature's alignment. Celestials, fiends, and undead automatically fail the saving throw.
Alignment, whatever that means.
Yeah, whatever that means.
We'll have an episode about it.
Yeah, we will. Invisibility is the final one. Sprite magically turns invisible until it attacks or casts a spell, or until its concentration ends. Any equipment the sprite wears or carries is invisible with it. So that's your sprite.
I like this. I like this creature in a terrain. Like when you have guerrilla warfare to this thing's advantage, it is a dangerous force to be reckoned with.
True.
Because you go fall asleep into Feywilds, and then who knows what's going to happen to your feet.
This is
They're going to take your boots and they're going to lick your skin off.
Let's talk about Pixies.
Okay.
So Pixies also have armor class of 15 for some reason, because they ain't wearing leather armor, but they do. They only have 1 hit point though.
They're wearing like a thimble or whatever.
Yeah. Like I said, only 1 hit point.
Jeez.
Strength of 2. Still only -4, but strength of 2. They have a lot more interesting stuff going on, though. So, number 1, they have magical resistance. The Pixie has advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. Innate spellcasting. The Pixie can cast magic with the Charisma stat, and they have access to the Druidcraft cantrip. Confusion. dancing lights, detect evil and good, detect thoughts, dispel magic, entangle, fly, phantasmal force, polymorph, and sleep.
That's an impressive spell list.
That's an impressive spell list for only a quarter creature. I mean, I understand it's got 1 HP, so basically it's like who goes first.
I'm doing these spells or I die.
But if it goes first and it gets its spells off, you're probably in a pretty bad situation.
Yeah, sure.
And then furthermore, it has a superior invisibility. The pixie magically turns invisible until its concentration ends. So it can
you can't even see me. You can see me less now.
It can pretty much become invisible as long as it wants.
Sure.
But yeah. It does not have an actual attack though. Like pixies are so what's the word?
They're like pacifists.
Yeah, they're so what's the word I'm looking for? Averse to violence.
Yeah.
They just will not fight. They'll cast spells to defend themselves, but they're running. Period. End of story.
Sure. Okay.
So
they should really add like pocket sand, where the pixie just like
pocket sand,
just like scratches their
pocket
arm.
Dust.
Yeah. Yeah. Just hits them in the eyes.
With that being said, do you have any questions about pixies or sprites?
My eyes are flying away. No.
It's a horror show.
The Fae is a horror.
My eyes.
The Fae is a horror show, man.
Fae is a horror show.
It's got the fantastic stuff for sure, but the negative stuff that lives in the Fae is so fucking it has that same alien nature as all this like fun, fantastic, familiar stuff.
Yeah.
Whimsical and blah blah blah. And then this like the evil burning side of that is just so like that's what I really liked about the books Rothfuss wrote is he does a really good job at showing the duality in all things.
Yeah, he definitely makes the Fae fucking scary.
It's horrifying. It is absolutely horrifying. Just even just Bass.
Bass is a little badass. Is what
he gradually, sorry for spoilers on this, but he gradually becomes more and more terrifying of a character.
This is true.
In his like joys and his sorrows, like his all over the place attitude about everything is like so. It's very perfect. Blue orange morality.
Yeah, he has an inherent I don't even think lack of morality is it because there's things he gets outraged by.
No, yeah,
it's just his morality is really shifted and different from normal people.
Right, he has different values.
Indeed.
And that's what you were saying about like when you go into the Fae, don't forget that this is different shit. It's easy. It's easy to because they have faces and they talk and speak to you and
everything's beautiful and seems nice on the surface, but yeah, it's definitely a dangerous.
It's a horror
place.
show.
Indeed, it's definitely a horror show. And with that being said, we're going to call it again.
No, we're not. We're going to get ready for our long rest.
And in this long rest, we're going to talk about TDC Plays, the video game channel where we here at the Dungeoncast sit around and play some video games. And if you like us, you like video games, you probably would like the channel. So you should click the link in the description, subscribe, like, comment, and all that stuff.
We'd appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, and watch us play Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD.
Watch us play Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. I should have an episode up by the time this airs.
Oh, yeah, nice. Watch us play Super Smash Bros. Ultimate on Smash Sunday.
Watch me play Mega Man X. And next time I record, it'll be at the right frame rate to capture the tornado effect because I'm just a learning boy.
And with that being said, we will call it a game.
All right, bye-bye.
We will talk to you guys later. Dungeoncast.